Holger Rune never meant to say it, but once the words left his mouth, there was no taking them back. A casual interview, a simple question about fellow Claires, and then he said her name. Alex Eala. The way he paused, the way his eyes shifted, the tennis world noticed everything, and what happened next would turn a private admiration into the sport's most talked about revelation. In the world of professional tennis, there are players who carry more than just their own dreams onto the court. They carry the hopes of entire nations. Holger Rune, the Danish sensation with a fiery temperament and devastating backhand, had become exactly that for Denmark. At just 21 years old, he'd already broken into the top 10, defeated multiple Grand Slam champions, and established himself as one of the ATP's most exciting young talents. His rise wasn't just meteoric, it was necessary. Denmark hadn't seen a tennis star of this magnitude in generations, and Rune wore that responsibility like armor. Across the tennis universe, in the WTA circuit, another young player was experiencing her own form of pressure-filled stardom. Alex Eala, the Filipino trailblazer, had become more than just a tennis player to her country. She was a symbol, the first Filipino to win a Grand Slam title at any level when she captured the U.S. Open Girls Singles Championship, the first to break into the WTA Top 200, then the Top 150. Every match she played wasn't just about rankings or prize money, it was about proving that a nation of over 110 million people belonged in the upper echelons of tennis. Their paths had crossed occasionally at combined ATP/WTA events. The professional tennis circuit is smaller than people think. The same hotels, the same practice facilities, the same player lounges where future Hall of Famers sit next to hopeful qualifiers. Rune and Eala existed in overlapping circles, but never quite in the same spotlight. He was the temperamental genius fighting for Masters 1000 titles. She was the determined barrier breaker, grinding through WTA 125 tournaments and working her way up the main tour. But here's what made their dynamic interesting. They represented the same archetype in different contexts. Both were carrying national expectations that would crush lesser athletes. Both had achieved breakthrough success at young ages and were now navigating the treacherous waters of living up to early promise. Both possessed that rare combination of technical brilliance and mental fortitude that separates the good from the potentially great. And both, whether they admitted it publicly or not, understood the unique loneliness of being your country's sole representative at the highest level of an individual sport. The tennis community is tight-knit despite its global spread. Players notice each other. They watch each other's matches in locker rooms. They share practice courts and fitness trainers. They understand, in ways that outsiders never could, exactly what the person across the net or across the locker room is experiencing. So when young players achieve something remarkable, their peers take notice. When Alex Eala won crucial matches or broke new ground for Filipino tennis, other young players on tour saw it. And Holger Rune, despite playing on a different circuit, despite the geographic and competitive distance between them, was one of those players paying attention. Nobody knew just how much attention he'd been paying. Not until that interview. Not until the moment his carefully maintained professional facade slipped just enough to reveal something genuine underneath. Because in tennis, as in life, it's often the unscripted moments that tell the truest stories. What happens when admiration becomes impossible to hide? It was supposed to be a routine press obligation. The kind of interview that Holger Rune had done hundreds of times before. A post-practice media session at a Masters 1000 event, the type where journalists ask predictable questions and players give carefully rehearsed answers. The setting was casual, a shaded area near the practice courts, with the sound of tennis balls echoing in the background. Rune sat in his practice gear, relaxed, seemingly ready to breeze through another 15 minutes of standard tennis talk. The journalist started with the expected questions, his preparation for the tournament, his thoughts on his draw, his recovery from a minor injury that had kept him out of the previous event. Rune answered with the practiced ease of someone who'd done this dance 1,000 times. Yes, he felt good. Yes, the knee was fine. Yes, he was looking forward to the challenge. Standard. Professional. Forgettable. Then came the question that changed everything. Holger, you've spoken before about watching other young players on tour. With the WTA side also here this week, are there any rising women's players whose games you admire or pay attention to? It was meant to be a throwaway question, the kind designed to fill time and maybe generate a quote about tennis's next generation. The journalist probably expected Rune to mention Coco Gauff or maybe Mira Andreeva, The obvious names, the safe names, the players everyone was already talking about. But Rune didn't give the obvious answer. He paused. It wasn't a normal pause, not the brief moment athletes take to formulate a diplomatic response. This was different. Longer. His eyes moved slightly to the left, the way people's eyes do when they're accessing genuine memory rather than reciting prepared talking points. And then he smiled, not his usual press conference smile, the one that's professional and measured. This smile was involuntary, almost embarrassed. Alex Eala, he said, and the name came out softer than his previous answers. I think what she's doing for Filipino tennis is incredible. The way she fights in every match, the way she's had to qualify and work her way through smaller tournaments to get opportunities at the main tour level, it's really impressive. The journalist sensed something. You could hear it in the follow-up question, the slight edge of curiosity entering their voice. You follow her results? Another pause. Rune shifted in his seat, and for a split second, the confident top 10 player looked like a 21-year-old who'd just been asked about a crush. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of us do. She has a really complete game. Her movement is excellent, and her mental strength, especially in tight matches, that's something you can't coach. You either have it or you don't. She has it. Here's what made this moment extraordinary, the specificity. Holger Rune wasn't offering generic praise. He wasn't saying, she's talented or she works hard, the empty phrases athletes use when they don't actually follow someone's career. He was referencing specific aspects of Eala's game, her movement, her mental toughness in pressure situations. These weren't observations from watching one viral highlight. This was the analysis of someone who'd watched her matches, multiple matches, someone who'd paid enough attention to form genuine technical opinions. The journalist pressed forward, sensing they'd stumbled onto something. Have you two ever practiced together or talked about tennis? Rune's expression shifted again. He was clearly aware now that this line of questioning had gone somewhere he hadn't anticipated. We've talked a few times at tournaments, just player lounge stuff, but she's really dedicated. I respect that. And then he added something that would become the most analyzed sentence in tennis social media for the next week. She's someone I think is going to surprise a lot of people. She has everything it takes to break into the top 50, maybe higher, and when she does, people will realize how special she is. When she does, not if, when. That certainty, that specific prediction, that personal investment in another player's future success. The interview continued for a few more minutes, returning to safer topics, like his serve technique and tournament strategy. But the damage, or the revelation, depending on your perspective, was already done. Within an hour, the clip was online. Within 2 hours, it had been shared across tennis Twitter, tennis Instagram, tennis TikTok. Within 3 hours, Filipino tennis fans had created compilation videos with the title Holger Rune respects Alex Eala set to emotional music. Within 6 hours, tennis gossip accounts were posting side-by-side photos of Rune and Eala, with caption after caption speculating about what this really meant. Holger Rune had accidentally done something that professional athletes are trained never to do. He'd revealed something genuine, something personal, something that felt to everyone watching like more than just professional respect. The internet was about to lose its mind, and this was only the beginning. If there's one thing tennis fans excel at, it's detective work. And when Holger Rune's interview dropped, the tennis internet transformed into something resembling a crime scene investigation unit. Except instead of solving murders, they were solving the mystery of exactly how deep Rune's admiration for Alex Eala actually went. It started on Twitter. A Filipino tennis fan account posted the interview clip with the caption, Holger Rune speaking about Alex Eala with that smile, I see you, Holger. Within minutes, the quote tweets began rolling in. The way he paused before saying her name, he really said, when she does, not if she does, I'm screaming. Professional athletes don't talk about other players like this unless there's something more. But the real investigation began when someone decided to scroll back through Rune's social media history. And that's when things got interesting. A user found a post from 7 months earlier, a practice photo Alex Eala had posted from a training session in Spain. Buried in the comments, 73 comments down, was a simple fire emoji from Holger Rune's verified account. At the time, nobody had noticed. Rune had 800,000 followers. Eala had about 200,000. It was easy for one emoji to disappear into the noise. But now it felt like evidence. Then someone found another interaction, a story Eala had posted 5 months ago celebrating her first WTA main draw victory. She tagged the tournament and a few sponsors. Holger Rune had viewed it. Instagram doesn't publicly show story views to everyone, but the fan who discovered this had screenshot proof from Eala's close friends list that somehow leaked. The screenshot showed Rune's account among the viewers. The detective work intensified. A tennis photographer's archive revealed a photo from Indian Wells, one of the combined ATP WTA events. Background of a practice court shot, Holger Rune and Alex Eala, both waiting for courts, engaged in what appeared to be conversation. They were laughing. The photo had been taken 4 months ago. It had received maybe 40 likes when originally posted. Now it was being shared thousands of times with captions like, "They've been talking and look at how he's looking at her." YouTubers who covered tennis drama began creating videos. Holger Rune's secret crush read one title, "Why Alex Eala Has ATP Players' Attention" read another. The algorithm did its work, pushing these videos to 100. Hundreds of thousands of tennis fans who might never have heard of either player before. TikTok became its own ecosystem of speculation. Editors created romantic montages using Rune's matches cut together with Eala's matches, set to trending songs about secret admiration. One video compared their playing styles, noting surprising similarities in their court positioning and shot selection, suggesting they might have discussed strategy. It got 2.3 million views. Reddit's tennis community created a megathread titled The Rune Eala Situation, Everything We Know. Users compiled every interaction, every possible connection, every tournament where they'd been in the same city at the same time. Someone discovered they'd both trained briefly at the Marataglu Academy years ago, though at different times. Someone else found an old interview where Eala mentioned practicing against male players to improve her game. Could Rune have been one of them? The Filipino tennis community was experiencing something entirely new. Alex Eala had put their country on the tennis map through her achievements, but this was different. This was one of the ATP's biggest young stars publicly praising her with a level of specificity and warmth that felt personal. Filipino sports talk shows debated what it meant. Morning radio programs in Manila discussed it. Wasn't just tennis news anymore.